Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. It's great to have you aboard. I'm Carl. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. And what a day in the market so far, huh? Let's go over here and check this out. So here's the reaction. First of all, we had the ADP report. You can see the futures fell in the morning, and then the market was up and down, and then the report came out, the housing report, the best in over 33 years. 25% increase. Amazing report. And look what happened. Bam! There it went. And it took about everything with it. If you look at MRO, you see it take off about the same time. Now, dear, let's look at these two. We've been talking about these in chat. And MRO. So you look about when it take off. It took off just prior to 8 o'clock. You look at the market. The report came out supposedly at 10, but you look at the market. It came out. It started moving about that same time, about 5 minutes before the market started to take off. Everything started to move. You look at Deere. I know the news on Deere's. It didn't start moving. Here's about the same time everything else started moving, about right down here, and you can see it was trading lower on that moment. Deere came out. They announced a $8 billion addition to what they're already doing on a stock buyback program and a quarterly dividend. Huge news for Deere, and there it went. You know, yeah, the timing. We talked about the trades. We don't need to go into the exits and stuff like that. But what we were looking at yesterday, it was time to get out. And the news came out. That's the market. In hindsight, yeah, it's fun to look at. If we would have stayed in, yeah. But at the time yesterday, the options went much, much lower than where we got out. They weren't worth much at all. So I'm glad we got out. Just it's tough to see when that thing stuff happened the very next day. Okay. All right. So the S&P has turned and gone down about 4.5 points. Hit 1800 again. 1799.80 is where it hit. Pushed back lower. Pushed back off the 7. Now we talk about this, and it's very short-term bearish when it goes below the 7. It doesn't mean the nice uptrend's over and there's no Santa Claus rally or anything like that. It's short-term bearish is all that's saying. And what this is likely to do, it's been bought up most of the times this year. You see a push back above the 7 right here. There's going to be all kinds of nice opportunities to go bullish. There's still a lot of opportunities out there today to go bullish. We're looking at some right now going in the close. There's a few bearish setups out there and some pretty decent looking bullish setups as well. So we're looking for that. So overall, yeah, I mean, the market, the bull's still in control. This isn't any type of a bearish, big time bearish action just because it drops below the 7. It just, again, just shorter term bearish. And you're going to notice when it crosses back above the 7, you're going to see all kinds of stocks out there crossing it back above their 7s. Okay. Mike, freezing rain. I haven't been in freezing rain. I have a cousin that's been in freezing rain. He was on a flat road, and everything started to freeze around him, and the rain's falling, of course. And all of a sudden, the road turned into ice, and he was on a flat road that had a slight, just a very slight. My mind went blank. A very slight downgrade to one side, and it just took his car and just pushed it right off the side of the road, just on that slick ice. Yeah, I don't want to be in that, but I've I've heard all about it. Nice trader doc. Yeah, that's awesome. If you didn't sell DE yesterday and you got in this action today, it's very bullish action. 8 billion more to their buyback program is definitely gonna affect things. So you're gonna look at DE. It's pulling back off the highs. Things changed here. When they announced the buyback program, what that means is there's going to be a lot of shares taken off the market. With fewer shares in the market, that means the shares are going to be worth more. Okay, so that's why we've seen the bigger reaction right here. Is it going to consolidate more? Look at this. We'll see where it ends by the end of the day, but things changed here. It's a fundamental shift now that there's less shares out there in the marketplace. Okay, so things have changed here. It blows the technicals. It's hard to say what this is going to do now. It really is. You'd expect some consolidation, but they start buying all these shares, then these additional shares, and we could see it just tick higher. Yeah, it's a tough call to say what it's going to do from here after this big shift like this today. If we look at it on the minute charts, or if I pull up DE and look at it here, okay, so here's a reaction high, and pardon me, I keep hitting my mic. Here's a reaction high, and I wouldn't even know if I'd call that a reaction low. I mean, because look where it took off. That's just the lowest points it's been here. A break right here of the 85.25 could take it lower. Do I think it's going to come back here? Not likely. With MRO, see the initial push higher, selling off. Now it's going back up. This thing has had a habit recently of selling off into the close. This push higher right here. We'll see if it holds like this. But yeah, I mean they're both up today. But there's been a lot of talk about the exits today. Yesterday I felt really good about the exits, and the fundamental everything changed here today, and today it's like should have stayed in. Based on the information we had, if we look at stock charts and back to MRO, this right here again, this isn't any type of an action that you can expect. What we saw here is it kept coming up to the 7. Every time it kept going higher, it would sell off into the close. It would bleed lower into the close. And so what we did is took the money off the table to look for a fresher signal. I mean, right now there's nothing technically that's saying, hey, this stock's going to go higher here. It was more of a hope that it's going to go higher rather than technical reasons to stay in the trade. It could have easily pushed down and gone lower today just as much as it pushed higher along with the market today. So we exited to look for a fresher signal, and that's what we're looking for, the next fresher signal, and we're moving on. Yeah, good question, Jill. Uh, Probably the new home sales data. That's a huge beat. I mean, the best in 33 and a half years. That's amazing. If we look through some of the home builders, let's see what they've done today. Not much there. D.R. Horton. They're not really moving on the news out there. And what's one of the other ones? Lennar. Yeah, they did nothing on it. Yeah, it's a good question, Vix. I'll dig into that. But with the home builders down, some of the REITs might have been going up. I know that Pot Roast was said he was in some REITs out there, and they probably bounced on the news. Good. Okay, yeah, there you go. Thanks, Crazy. Or the interest rates. Oops. Okay, some of the stocks I've been watching today is Yahoo. I've been watching this one. I always watch them into the close, and Yahoo. You can see what it's done here in the past. Had some nice upticks like this, and if I go bring in the vibe as it sits, it's a nice vibe entrance. All the averages rising. You got a rising MACD. You got a rising rate of change, pushing above resistance up here. Prior resistance. If this holds, okay, the volumes are okay. Okay, good. Thanks, Mike. Um, Pushing up above the 7 again. It's a strong looking signal. We just got to watch and see how this looks into the close today. Another one is WAG. I'll tell you what I'm laughing about here in a second. But Walgreens, this is a trend rider, and bringing up Walgreens reminded me what I was laughing about. But Walgreens, this would be a trend rider bear signal. I see the volume has picked up a little bit here yesterday, and today there's pretty high volume so far today. Trend rider bear signal as this is breaking down there. The volumes are picking up. Really next stop down here is around the $56 range to maybe even the $55 range. Nice looking setup here in Walgreens. Okay, I was laughing because this morning DE had all kinds of things. It's like the stars lined up for it. There was Motley Fool came out this morning and said DE is a buy here, and this was before the comments were read by the CEO, and also Kramer. He said it was on his, he goes buy DE, and this all took place. And remember when we were looking at DE early on this morning, trying to find news on it. The news wasn't out from the CEO, from what the comments of the buyback program yet, and all we could find. I'll go here to Finviz. Is this DE? No, this is Walgreens. Go to Walgreens. All we could find was that Kramer at the time, Kramer's lightning round. Where was it? It seemed like that was it, but I think in here is also Deere. Kramer mentioned Deere was a buy. And this all took place. Trying to find out, trying to see where it is. Anyways, it all took place before it's actually read, and all of a sudden here comes the news: $8 billion buyback. There it goes, and Deere just took off. Okay, so it had all the stars align on it today. So Walgreens, another one I'm keeping a close eye on today. And I know some of you guys are in this trade, got into the trade. This is Nucor, right? I'd like a strong close here. I mean, it's a great bullish action. Don't get me wrong, it's still bullish action here. Um, so this is a bull vibe. This would be a bull vibe signal. And if I zoom in on that, change that, you can see a strong push up. And what's had these strong push ups above the 7 here in the past on these pullbacks, not much of a pullback over here, is more kind of consolidating around this range for a while back in this range. But when you got all three of the averages rising like right in here, and you get that strong uptick like that, same thing right through here, check it out, right through that area, everything's rising, you get the strong push higher. It's what we're seeing here. Pull back, strong move today. The volumes are going to be pretty decent. You don't always need the volumes. Again, it's nice when you can get them, but you don't always need them on a stock that's already trending like that. A little bit of a pullback here. The volumes were strong today, and they appear to be pretty good so far today. Would even make it a better setup, but that's another one, and I believe some of you are already in that trade. But it's just some of the stocks I'm looking at today. USG. This is a trend rider. It's really sold off from the time that I saw this. Now it's almost to the point where it would almost be chasing it. Saw this earlier on this morning. Vibe Bear, where it's jumping the lower Bollinger Band. It's run probably another probably 30-40 cents from where I first saw it when it was first entering the band this morning. I'd like to see this pull back up towards 26 and towards the latter part of the day start pushing low again for a better entry, because right here we're down here at 25.5. The 7's up here, a couple dollars away from the 7 at this point, which is a pretty big move. If it stays down here during the day, it'd be too far too gone. Even though it'd be a trend rider bear signal and could run lower, there's just chances there of some consolidation. Probably back to around the 26 mark or something like that. That's been past resistance for it. Wouldn't be surprised to see that happen today. Yeah, thanks, Snag. Kramer 614 this morning. So, all right. Okay. So as far as other stocks out there, we can look back. If you guys want to look at some stocks, just type them in. And talking about Bristol Myers yesterday, trend rider bear signal. And most of these bearish signals went higher today based on that run in the market. They went higher, and they've been selling off, kind of like right along with the market. If this thing rolled over again, even if it closed right here today, in my opinion, it's still the bearish play is still there. Even if it closes inside the band, the bearish trade's still there. The 7 would be a stop on it, but it's still, the candle itself still in the band. It's going to close in it, but even a run down into the close would be better. But still, the technicals are not blown here by any means to the downside. Okay, and then Also, we had oh, Best Buy. Best Buy just flat today. It's got a little bit of a doji pattern there. Doji's not one of the stronger signals out there. What they mean is just more of an area of indecision than anything. To me, it's not throwing the technicals off. Stop would be about yesterday's open, is where I believe I said in my notes right there. But it had a very strong bullish signal yesterday. Today, it doesn't take anything away from it. It consolidates slightly, coming back towards the seven, and I just watched the seven um, and get out there. Pandora, yeah, watch this one into the close. This would, if I bring in the vibe, this is a vibe signal right here, a bull vibe. Now, I was looking at the indicators here, not necessarily uptrending. This 30 mark, it's not. I mean, this doesn't mean it can't push above 30, but when the indicators are kind of flattening here and even been going down a little bit as the stock's been rising, just not quite as strong as if they were uptrending. So as far as an entrance here, looking to buy in, I think I'd look elsewhere. 30 might be a level of. It's still got the trend intact. I'd just like to see things shift a little bit at this point, as this is trying to push above that $30 mark. If I was in calls in it, just watch it around 30. It might push up towards that level again. I don't know if I'd stick in it much past 30 if I was in a trade on it, and I wouldn't be bearish on this thing. I'd have to start trading below 28, start pushing below the 7. It's the bullish uptrend's still there. It's still intact. With Yelp, okay, so this has been pushing up through. I mean, if we go look at the charts on these, you're going to see most of them took off right with the market. And this could have been the case here. It's holding 60. If it closes up here, then if I had puts, I'd get out. It's just it might do another one of these things. The downtrend's still there, but shorter term, it would show a little bit of strength here if it closes above the 7, and it's holding the $60 mark as well. So if it closed up in this range again, I'd get out. If it rolled over and closed back below the 7, I'd probably stay in. I mean, the indications here, the indicators still all downtrending as the stock's been downtrending, but close up here, I would just shorter term bullish for me. With GE, sorry, just scrolling through chats here. With GE, nice. Let me look at it this way through the vibe for a trend rider. This is one of those where it went up to the 7 days, rolled back over. If it ran negative today, I'd like it a little bit better than here. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I'm not bullish on it, but what it's done is gap down and it's kind of held the level. It's a little bit higher right here. It's in the lower Bollinger Band. The bands aren't really expanding. It's very close to a trend rider bear signal. If this did roll over and go and finish with a filled candle rather than a hollow candle here, I'd feel better about going short. It's not that far away from the 7th, so you're not really chasing it. It's just the Bollinger Bands here are still a little bit contracted, but again, it doesn't mean it can't go lower, right? Technicals, but yeah, I mean, if I was looking to enter a trade today, I'd look somewhere else and find a little bit better setup than here, trying to force one. I'd feel a little bit forcing here, even though it does look bearish. I'd still feel a little bit forced into that one. With Himax Technologies, yeah, this is a good looking signal. This would be the trend rider. It's got the aspects of the trend rider. It's in the upper band. It formed it right over here as it shot up. Now I don't like to trade even on a trend rider here. It wouldn't make my top 3 on that day where it shot that giant candlestick up to get into the upper Bollinger Band. And some traders would think, well, that's a great looking signal I'm in. But when those big candles like that, you don't know if it's going to keep going higher, if you don't know if it's going to consolidate. And this one chose to consolidate, and it was bullish consolidation. And today is a nice trigger of pushing up into the upper Bollinger Band. If it holds here above the 10.5 mark, I'm looking down here at the volumes. It's got strong volumes. This holds above 10.5, and this is likely to run a lot higher. And just stay in as long as you go into that until it closes back below the band. Okay. Yeah, that's a good looking chart. Verizon. Okay, so Verizon down here shot up and has rolled over, kind of like the market, right? If this pushes back down lower today, just a little bit of a what they'd call a shooting star pattern, which looks like this. If I let me just draw it in for you. It's kind of nice to have this little drawing tool. This rolls over like that today. The bears are happy. It might happen. It's down 25 cents. Watch it. It's gapped lower, ran up with the market, and then has sold back off. It does that in the close. I mean, if I was in this trade bearish, then I'd stay in. This is no cause for alarm. You could say that that's a little bit of a gravestone action and a little bit of a pullback here. But with what happened in the market today, and most stocks followed it, it kind of throws that off a little bit for me. Okay. With MGM, yeah, I mean the gaming stocks are having a great day. MGM going right along with them. It's going to have some pretty good volumes on them today. This would be if I bring in, it's not in the upper Bollinger Band there. It hit it today. If it closes in it, even better. But also if you bring in the vibe right here, technically it wouldn't be a pure vibe entry, just because the 50 is going back a little bit, pulling back on it here. Um, Again, I would not be bearish on this stock by any means. This is a very bullish technical move to see this pushing up like that above the 19.5. If it can close up towards the highs here, even if it closed right here, the bulls still are having their way here. And the other one I really like, and I know that some of you are in these trades, is Las Vegas Sands. To me, technically, this is the strongest mover out of the ones that we've seen. Jump hit right. It jumped up, consolidated back to 7, a really strong push off of it. Today's volume is just huge, which even puts more odds in your favor of this thing going higher. Yeah, it's a ways away from the 7 right now. To me, that volume is just it's likely to push this thing higher with maybe some brief consolidation at a higher level. But this is a beautiful looking chart if it ends this way today. Everything still looks good on it. Yeah, band's expanding. It's in the band. You could stay in this trade till it closes back inside. The volumes are very bullish volumes today on this nice technical setup. Archer Daniels. I was looking at this one earlier today, and it had a decent looking vibe signal on it. It's sold off since then. I don't know if you're going to trade on it or not, but okay, a couple things here. Yeah, we got everything rising like this, and we don't have the trends here. Now you could look at this and say, well, it's starting to break out, which is positive. It's going up here above 0, breaking out a little bit of a downtrend there. The MACD is pretty slow to turn around. But see all this technical action over here? I'd like to see it get up and out of that before I got real confident that a strong push above a 7 isn't going to do some more of this stuff, where it goes up above it and then it comes right back down. So as far as any type of a bullish entry right here, I wouldn't make it. Even if it closed towards the highs today, I wouldn't be sold that you're not going to get another round of selling right after it. It's going to have to push up through these higher levels right here to above the 42 mark before I'd get overly bullish and trust the signals a lot more than right in here. Okay, Walmart rolling over. Oh, ex-dividend today. Okay. Richard, anytime as far as moving from December to January options, we got a couple weeks left. till expiration, just over 2 weeks left till expiration. Right now, trades that we're going to make are going to be a shorter term trade. Walgreens, I know they announce earnings on the 20th. Not saying we're going to trade Walgreens today, but they announce on the 20th. If I get a really strong technical setup, if I get into a trade like that, what it does, I got to get a nice little gain. I'll watch it, and then I want to capture the gain before the expiration. But you don't want to get too close to expiration, um, unless you're doing one of those higher end all or nothing type, not higher end, but all or nothing type trades with based on some type of expected price action or hopeful price action, I should say. But yeah, probably next week we'll start going in looking towards January's. Did I said it yesterday. January, that's next month. Wow. Where did this year go? With Walmart, if you're in a bullish trade on this, hey, get out of it. Close below the 7. Pretty easy. That'd be a pretty easy exit. This ran up on the market. It was up nice this morning, even really before the market took off, and it's reversed. But watch the 7. If 87.5 can hold, well, that type of price action, if it turns positive today, would be good. But no, again, I just watch the 7 with Walmart. It's been such a strong mover. Okay. So for Cheniere Energy, let me look here. I want to get a close look on this, and I'll get you in to better what I'm looking for, because that's a gravestone doji today. Gravestone doji. If it closes there, if this closes positive today, let's up slightly. But if it closes up towards the highs, then nice. But if it closes with that, it's a little bit of a bearish candle. We talked about gravestones in the past. There's one similar right here. It's not a pure gravestone. You want to find them towards a high. You don't, if they're like going, the stock's going sideways, and you see when it doesn't really, it's not as impactful as it would. And stocks are going to treat these differently. They're not all going to be the same. There's one very similar, but that's a dragonfly down here, and that tended to work. Down here, there's a lot of dojis, spinning type dojis, but no, it's similar to a gravestone, but not a very good one. Right here, but there's another, that's a dragonfly, but it's a little bit towards the top. But it's kind of hit and miss it with this if they really work that well. Here's a gravestone on a little bit of a downtrend, not much, and it didn't do anything. So it's going to be kind of hit and miss with this stock as far as if that's gonna play out here. It's still above the 7. Watch it into the close today. If you got a gain and you decide just you want to take it, I couldn't argue it, as always. Could never argue if you want to just take a gain and run. But it's still above the 7. It's right up in an area where it's hit before. Yeah, so if you look at this, back out a little bit, you look at the last time it got up here towards 42, and you look at the volumes. And you want to see, hey, was there big volumes up there? And yeah, there was some pretty big volumes up there. So 42 doesn't mean it can't break 42, but the odds are there that 42 might be another level of resistance for it for a little while. And if you get like this, a little reversal doji on it at one of these levels right here, they could turn lower. It doesn't mean that the uptrend's over. It just means short-term weakness. That's all it means. Okay, so if I saw that in the close, if I had a gain, I'd probably take it and then just look for another entry. It might just turn around, hit the 7, and push higher, right? Johnson & Johnson. Okay, so you don't look at it that way. We're going to look at this, sorry, not a vibe, a trend rider. Okay, now with Johnson & Johnson, technically there's no big signal here as far as looking at indicators or anything. Now there are ways that you can play. This is very bearish price action, don't get me wrong. where it's pushing way off the 7 like this. But you see how far away it is from the 7? And it's coming down near a support level. And when you got a stock that gets a long ways away from the 7, like right now, we got about almost $2, about a buck 50 away from it, and you're nearing a past level of resistance slash support, it might hold a level. It might go crashing through it. One thing that stocks do, oops, I don't want to do that. One thing that stocks do is when they bounce off that upper band, they can come to the lower band, like back here, and here from the lower band to the higher band, the upper band. And you watch that 20. If they break the 20, the odds increase of a bounce here, the increase that it's going to go to the top. Of course, nothing's ever 100% in the stock market, but you notice when they start breaking the 20. So here's a push off the lower band, break the 20, and it ended up at the top. Here's a push off the top band, broke the 20, ended up at the bottom. And here's a push, well, we didn't get a push off the top, no break of the 20 until today. So the odds are favoring this could come down to the 92 level. But that's about how you could play it. This looks like it could break through the 50 today or tomorrow, which is another bearish sign, which could put this a couple dollars lower as well. And that one has done that, played the Bollinger Bands quite well. And so today, this break of the 20 is suggesting it could come down to 22. Not 22. That'd be nice if you had puts. 92. Okay. Williams Company. Okay, this showed up as a TrendRider bull yesterday, and just continuing that upper band today. If I had calls here, just ride it with the band. It could come up to the 37 mark. You see the volumes, how they're building volumes like this on this type of a signal. It could go right through 37. All right, so but just stay in the trade. If you happen to be in it, if you're not in it, I would wait for some consolidation. Me. And today, you can see it came back to the 7 and started pushing higher off of it, which is another very bullish move. But right here now, I'd feel for me personally, I'd be chasing this. It might keep going, but if I'm in the trade, hey, I'd be sitting comfy. Just ride it with the upper Bollinger Band. Go check the futures here. Was it Max? Wasn't it you that said the market just broke the reaction low? Look out! And look what happened. It definitely took off to the downside. Have to look. The fears of a taper on that type of ADP report. I mean, just a phenomenal report. Again, it's not a direct reflection of what's going to happen with the Feds on Friday, but and there's been some talk of taper, and a lot of people are like, well, hey, the taper, I told my wife, that's been quite a few months ago, I said, honey, that the Feds are doing this $85 billion a month program where they're putting 85 billion into various places in the markets. And like, what? Are you sure? Yes, honey. Yes. She watches the Good Morning Americas and that type of news, and they never bring that kind of stuff up, right? But yeah, it's been going on for a long time, and so the talk of taper is very, very threatening to the market, and this could be what this sell-off is. I mean, I'll dig in and see if I can't find a reason why, but the worries of a really good jobs number, because the Feds have said that if the unemployment starts to come back, starts to look a lot better, that's when they'll start maybe doing some tapering of maybe 10 billion here or 10 billion there. And the question arises, well, what is 10 billion out of 85 billion? Is that big a deal? No, not really. But when the Feds start tapering, the market's going to price in a full taper. It's not going to say, oh, 10 billion. Okay, well, let's price that in because they know there's going to be another round coming. So the markets want to price the whole thing in. And what that is, good question. And nobody, not the greatest economic minds on the planet, know what's going to happen when the Feds start to pull that off the table. It's never ever been attempted before. Okay. That's what's got the market worried. I mean, you can listen to guys on any economic genius on the planet. There's no answer. They have some theories of what might happen, but it's never been done. And typically in the past, when money has been inflated, I'm sorry, devaluated, just pumped into the markets like that, it's wound up in inflation. And what the real worry is, and why the whole tapering's even there, is the threat of deflation, which is what caused the Great Depression, was deflation, and that's the real reason the Feds are out doing it, and they're not pulling it off the table because the numbers of the numbers they're seeing right now isn't suggesting they should take anything off. In fact, a lot of people think that they should start adding more. Okay, so personally, I don't know when they're going to do tapering. It just makes the market worried that the threat is there that they might start. But can they really take that off? I don't know. And I know there's pot roast and some of the others out there are saying the same thing, no taper. I don't think it's coming off, but it just got the markets worried. That's might be what we're seeing here today with the market pulling back like it is. All right, so yeah, it's been the talk for a while that the whole taper deal, taper, and there was people saying octaper. I saw that in an article too, octaper or septaper. Never happened, and I don't know about even next year if it's going to happen. With a Russell, yeah, big reversal. Man, look at that. Up to the 7, pushing off lower. If it breaks down through this 111 mark, that's past resistance for it. It would be even more bearish. And breaks through that 20, it's likely it could come down to the lower band. Yeah. Let's look at the S&P. This is going to move in chunks of 20. These numbers along the side is where the S&P is typically going to move. And yeah, is it going to do the old? Let me bring this up for you a little bit so you can see this. So even with the market, here's where it went off the low upper band, right? And then broke through the 20 right here, wound up at the bottom. Here, not necessarily towards the highs. Let's see here. Well, it broke the 20. No, it didn't. Sorry. Did not break the 20. Today, if it holds right here, it's breaking the 20. Now, we're looking at this technically, right? There's a lot of things that can change the technicals for the S&P. All right, but for the most part, if you get pretty good at technicals, you can get pretty good at forecasting the market. Okay, but there's so many variables that can happen in the market that can shift things very easily. But technically, right now, if this breaks down through that 20, the odds of this coming down another 20 points just increased. Pretty good. All right. Matt, in the past, when we've been doing 85 billion, I mean that number is just it's incredible. $1 billion. That's amazing. $1 billion is a lot of money, right? And when they started throwing numbers around like that, now you hear 85 billion. It's like, huh? What's that? Uh, yeah, Sheila, how can you? You're exactly right. She said no country in ever history has ever stopped buying its debt. How can you? If you're not buying it, who's buying it? Right? Who's when I go out and buy someone's debt, and there's just so much that just doesn't seem right about it. But that's their way of, and what they normally like. We've seen them kick the can down the road, and kick it down the road, and kick it down the road, and hoping that somewhere along the line it's going to stop, and it will someday. And it doesn't look pretty. That's the big thing. They're worried of what's going to happen when they stop doing it. Yeah. Roman Empire, here we come. In history, anytime a country I won't even go into to companies and individuals. We'd all be in jail for doing what's going on. Anytime that kind of pumping of money has gone into effect, it's resulted in inflation. Now, I was walking around a movie theater a few months ago, maybe a year ago. Sorry to bring up a story. I'm quite a little bit of storyteller. I was walking around. I had my. She was probably about 18 months old at the time, maybe a year. Anyways, I had my little girl with me, and of course, all she wanted to do is go outside and run, and play around in the halls of this movie theater. And so I'm walking around the halls of this movie theater, and I see this looks like a bill, some type of money on the ground. So I walk over and picked it up. Hey, guess what? I just found $20,000 bill. Thank you. $20,000 bill. I got it in my wallet. Yeah, and you might be thinking, wow, 20 grand? Of course, you probably know what I'm going to say. That bill was from Zimbabwe. And I went out online thinking, what's this thing worth? And at one point, and Google this if you want, at one point, Zimbabwe, you can buy them on eBay and on Amazon, I think, for $5 At one point, Zimbabwe, who experienced hyperinflation, had a $100 trillion bill. 100 trillion. It was a bill. You Google that, you see pictures of people hauling around literally wheelbarrows full of money, and it was probably used to buy a loaf of bread or something. A whole wheelbarrow full of money is ridiculous. I still don't know what that bill's worth. I guess it depends on the year and stuff like that. Yeah, buy a dozen eggs for it. $100 trillion bill. I mean, it'd be cool to have. I saw his name, Joe Kernan on CNBC give one of those away to one of his guests one day. He goes, "Here, have $100 trillion on me." But from the reports I've read, and I'm not an economist by any means, but from the reports that I've read, hyperinflation is not likely here in the United States. It takes extreme conditions. I'm not saying it couldn't happen because we've never experienced $85 billion a month. So yeah, I mean it's something out there. Yeah, right, Max. I've been there. My wife, when I told her that the government was putting $85 billion a month into buying its debts and things like that, she said, "Are you sure? Where are you getting that from?" And they'd been doing it for like 8 months when I even mentioned it to her, and she thought I had it right. I was kind of a kook and had my numbers wrong because I've there's just a lot of stuff out there, anyways. But and I said no, it's been going on, honey. But because the mainstream media is not gonna tell, not gonna they don't tell anybody what's going on, and then as far as that, right? You got to be in the market, and it's talked about practically every day. Okay, so the threats here of hyperinflation, not likely from what I've read. Again, I'm not an economist, but inflation. Well, what they're really worried about is deflation, and that's why they've been doing QE. Yeah, thanks, Robert. I'll check into that. My $20,000 Zimbabwe bill. It might be worth $5. All right, everybody. So looking to make a trade. Now, this is some pretty wild action today on the S&P. I'm going to be looking and talking with Jeff and and looking for a trade. This type of price action here. I want to see where this ends up today, but there. Let me look at some of the stocks. Bristol Myers, it's sold off, still kind of holding its own. Just kind of want to take a tour around the market and see what's going on. Look at the financials here. The financials, they'd rallied big. They're selling back off again slightly. It's not really hurting the financials too much. They're off the lows, at least this recent pullback here. So what I want to do, I'm going to dig around the market and see how this is affecting stocks overall. Yeah. So this would call it a gravestone doji. I like the name dead doji too. That's fine. A gravestone doji. Now, a little bit different here on this one because it's not towards the highs. The highs were up here. It's pulled back a little bit. If anything, it's dropped a little bit and it's forming this. So kind of a tough one in this position right here. If anything, it could be bullish because it's after a little bit of a drop in price right here, but it just kind of gone sideways. I like to see them. They're much more accurate if you find them towards the top, and I'll have to draw it in here for you. But well, if you find these towards the top, like let's say there was one right up here, and there's not, but let's say there was one right up here. Say that was right here towards the top of a nice little run like that, then they're much more accurate. ETFs are not that accurate. Okay, here where it's kind of pulled back a little bit, if anything, it could be a little bit bullish, but it just kind of flat through there. I'm not really sold it's really telling me anything based on that action here. I don't really see many. They're kind of rare. You don't see them too often. I don't see hardly anything here on this stock. If it closes like that, that would be one of the few that I've seen. There's a very close to a dragonfly up there, but notice it didn't. This would at this point where it's run up like that would be a little bit bearish, but you notice it just kept going. A little bit of a gravestone down here. It'd be very much like today where it's been up and down. And you can see what it did this time. It just kind of went sideways. So not really an indication in the position that it's in right there. Not that strong of an indication one way or another. A bullish sign would to see this go positive by the end of the day and close above yesterday's. It would be a bull vibe entrance, right? But in that position, not really there. So this is an ETF. So this is the Still Spider, a tech spider, technology select sector. Sorry. So this is the spider. Did I say steel? So not all that accurate on ETFs. Yeah, you got a basket of stocks. It's not individual. Okay. Paul, you bring up a great point. When you see the market doing this and you see stocks not reacting, it's a very positive sign for the stock. There's some strength there. But what you want to be a little bit concerned about if the market continues to drop, maybe tomorrow or the next day, even some of the ones that are not reacting right now, it might catch them and start to take them. Okay, but that's the pockets of strength when the market's selling are good. And if the market starts to maybe rally a bit in the next couple of days, and you got a stock that wasn't really going down when the market was going down, they can just take off on you. And so yeah, that's a very bullish sign. Great. Thanks for bringing that up. This kind of a turnaround in the market. If I can type. You might see a lot of these because a lot of stocks came out flat, and then on the market surge they went up with the market. And if the market comes back like this, that's how these gravestones are formed. They surge higher, and then by the end of the day wind up flat. Okay, now this is kind of like what I was just saying on the other one. See, I'd rather see, to be more accurate on a gravestone, I'd rather see it up here at this nice little rally right here. It's going to be more accurate. Down here, it's what's called a dragonfly, and this has come back. Actually, a little bit bullish. A dragonfly to see one. Sorry, this is a gravestone, but it's in a position that's been selling off for a few days, which still suggests a little bit of a turnaround right here. It's a little bit of a bullish sign in this case, where it's at a little bit of a low like that. So if you see them towards the top, it means reversal. If you see them at the top, it means short-term reversal. It's not a trend changer. Short-term reversal. You find them on a bottom, still staying short-term reversals, and you can still see dragonflies towards the top. So let's say you saw a dragonfly up here. Hard to get those. So let's say you saw a dragonfly up here after it's run up like that. That's still saying short-term reversal. Just like it's saying short-term reversal if it was near a bottom like over here. Okay, so they're short-term reversal patterns. Whenever you see one, look back at a chart on it. You don't have to go back too far. We're typically using 7 months here, and what we're using here is just landscape on size, and it brings in 7 months. I've had that question a lot here recently. It's a good question. We're using this and go back. So if you see a gravestone and then look back and say, all right, has there been any gravestones towards the bottom? How has it reacted? Has there been some towards the top? How has it reacted in the past? And this is going to give you a little bit of indication how it might act in the future here, right? BTFD. Correction over. Not sure if I understand what BTFD is. With Starbucks. Okay, so you look here and you can see this is a vibe template. Put this on the trend rider, and this is where you'll see for Starbucks, it'd be a very good. Got you, Darren. Buy the fig dip. I got you. Thank you. This would be one of those to watch as far as an entrance here on Starbucks. You can see the channel basically between 80 and 82. It's been below 80 in the past here. What I'd want to see here is it's pushed down into that lower Bollinger Band. You've got the RSI dropping below 50 up there. I want to see this. It's not on strong volumes. You got a strong uptrend here. To be a reversal here, I want to see it drop into the lower band. If I can get yesterday's volume, that'd be probably good enough. But it's got to drop into that lower band. It might happen tomorrow. If it doesn't happen today, it might happen tomorrow. So watch for it. As far as right here, I wouldn't get bearish yet. I mean, we could anticipate a nice bounce here, and it might get it tomorrow based on the action. I gotcha. All right. Okay, everybody. I'm going to start working on my top three, looking for a challenge trade to make this afternoon with this type of price action going on in the S&P. Let me look at this over here. So we're off the low of the day. This might set up. We'll see how this is going to pan out. This is a pretty volatile day for the stock market. Huge upswings, huge downswings. Got a jobs report out on Friday. What that's going to bring the market. Typically, the day before a jobs number is fairly flat. If it sells off, it just tells you the market's worried about a good report, most likely. But normally, the Thursday before jobs is typically fairly flat, as it's just waiting for that number. Okay, Darren. Yeah, just go ahead. All right, everybody. I'll be on chat with you. If you have any questions, you can reach through email as well if you'd like. It's Carl, and that's with a C at traderminute.com. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.